watched Hot Ones?
No.
It's like a show. It's similar to talk show. They talk over hot wings, and they get hotter. The sauces get hotter, and so it's funny to watch them try to answer questions while working through this super hot sauce.
It's great.
Like, it's hilarious.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me a video of these guys who supposedly are drinking helium-infused beer.
Oh, I think I've seen.
It's a joke.
Yeah,
Beer can't hold helium.
Yeah.
The nerdy reason why I don't really understand, but they just
can't
turn up their voices,
Yeah.
make it sound like it, and then like, oh my gosh, it's so
funny.
funny. And then I was kind of sad just because I wanted it to be
You
real.
want it to be real.
But if that were the case, everybody would be doing that. Like, we would have heard about
I know, right? It would have been.
It would be the greatest party
It'd be on
trick.
tap everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we should do this like, oh, well, hi there.
Oh, hey. I didn't see you there.
Come on in. Get on board. Oh, that could be it.
I think you're live.
He thinks we're live.
Somebody start up Facebook and see if we're live.
Well, hi there.
Oh, we didn't see you there.
Come on in, join us. Okay, that's totally
I'm
cheesy.
just checking if we're live here. I'm not being rude, I promise.
Austin,
I know.
put that thing away.
Us millennials can't stay off of our phones.
Ah,
I think we're live.
What a
because
stereotype.
Carrie gave us a heart.
hi, Carrie.
Oh.
Yep.
We're live.
Okay. Great. So here we are with this show that still has yet to be named.
Nameless.
We've had a few interesting submissions. We heard this week from one of our parishioners that maybe we should call it the irreverends. Get it? Eh?
I'm here for it.
I like it. It's the personal fave so far. We could call it like, get on board the pastor train.
The pastor train.
We've been sitting here talking about trains. Why? I
It's
don't
the
know.
Crescent train.
Yeah, there's a train up a spell that
Yeah.
will really mess with your life
Yeah.
if you live on the other side of it and have to get here, which both Austin and I have experienced. He still lives on the other side. It was enough to compel me to move to the side of the train.
The one reason Amy moved to Granbury
there
was
were
the
many
train.
reasons, many good reasons, but that was in the top 10 for
Yeah.
sure. Top 5, maybe.
Heavy influencer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So today, Deshay is running a little late. It might be because of the train and some starter problems on the car. I don't know, cars.
Nice.
But also, Justin is on vacation. I point to the empty chair like Elijah.
Justin, where'd you go?
Wait a minute. He's not here. He and his family are going down to the coast for a few days, have some Sabbath, which we're all super supportive and glad for. And so it's Austin and I, and Deshay will get here at some point and join the conversation, and we'll just roll with that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Austin, you ready for a question?
Let's go. Let's hear the questions.
I'll start with a softball.
Okay. Oh, goodness. There's a softball.
Not to make you nervous. Don't be afraid. You're in good hands. What Netflix shows are you binging on in this pandemic time?
Oh man, Netflix particularly.
I mean,
Very retail.
that's the one I think most people subscribe to.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, I feel like Netflix is the biggest.
I'm just trying to have like the broadest audience. I hate when people talk about shows that I can't watch. Because I don't have Hulu or I don't have.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
have Hulu. When people talk about like the shows they watch on Hulu Live, it kills me a little bit on the inside.
I know.
Netflix shows right now. Kingdom, which is like this UFC show, which really isn't like a show that I would normally watch, but I really have gotten into it.
Okay.
And
Like Medieval Kingdom?
no, Kingdom. I don't know if the title is supposed to like describe. It's about MMA fighters, and the guy owns this MMA gym, right? And so maybe that's the kingdom that the title's referring to. Is like tells the story about all of his sons are his fighters, and so there's like weird stuff with their relationships in there, but also I don't know, I like it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, these sort of like cult classics where like
Mm-hmm.
little tiny followings give you this peek into a subculture,
Yeah.
and then it just catches on. I mean, Tiger King, or
Yeah.
I mean, these reality shows,
Right.
right, where people are willing to open up their lives and have them totally exposed, and then,
It's terrifying.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's an element of like just humanity in them too,
True.
right?
True.
And you can't help but sort of identify in some way.
Yeah.
So how do you identify Austin with an MMA fighter?
I don't know if I do. I'm a very passive person in terms
Yeah,
of, I'm
can't
not a
boast.
fighter. I'm not a fighter.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
But I don't know, just from watching this show, and it's not like a reality show, it's like a TV series,
Okay.
so it's all fiction. But just even the idea of there's these people out there who fighting is their career,
Yeah,
which seems like a weird thing.
yeah.
But they spend each day of their life in the gym all day long, learning how to be the best fighter, learning how to beat somebody else up, which just seems totally out of my capacity as a human being.
It's not a way to spend your time.
Right, but then I think about how they're experiencing it and how their opponents are experiencing it, and it's not like this terrible thing where they're hating each other and so they have to beat each other up. It's like this sport, this competitive family thing,
Yeah.
which is weird to me, and I don't understand it at all, but it's a thing that people do, and it's a lifestyle, and I think for a lot of them it's a really healthy outlet for maybe some otherwise unhealthy things. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. Well, and you touch on something that I've always been fascinated, not like I know a lot about MMA fighting, because I
me
don't,
either.
but that there is sort of this mutual respect,
Mhm,
and they just
mhm.
understand, like, this isn't personal.
Right,
I'm going to try to knock you out.
right.
Don't take it personally.
Like, we're gonna be friends afterwards.
Yeah. It's all just, our job.
Mhm.
It reminds me, this may be, I don't know, a little before your time. I'm dating myself. The old Looney Tunes where Wile E. Coyote is clocking into work and then the sheepdog is clocking out. Morning Sam, night Ralph. And they're like totally respectful in their roles. You're just being a sheepdog and you're just being a wolf trying to eat the sheep. We get it. And they just pass each other and they have their little lunch boxes.
Yeah.
But then they get out in the field and it's like dog eat dog, literally,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, I get it.
Mutual understanding.
It's a role. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a role. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
A role that you fit into. It's not your life, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
in some ways it is. I don't
Okay.
know. So I'm watching that right now. I'm also rewatching Haunting of Hill House.
Don't know
Because
it.
I love horror. I love it. It's my favorite.
I'm a
Because
total
they're
fan.
coming out with a new season in October, Haunting of Bly Manor. And I'm all about the horror shows. And this one in particular is about a family, and I really like family systems theory and thinking
Yes.
about that and the ways that that plays into all of their issues. And it's a good show.
Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to push you on this.
All right.
What is our fascination with like gore, and is it sort of a way to like externalize and just have it all play out on a screen so then we don't, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't, because I don't watch it. I'm a big
Yeah.
baby. Christian gets mad at me because I will not watch these shows with him because I won't sleep. I'll have nightmares.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I used to hate haunted houses. I still pretty much hate haunted houses.
All of it.
Like, I'm the guy that will go with a group of friends because I get peer pressured into it, and then I'll make sure that I'm in the middle of the group and I've got a hold of somebody's shirt.
I can't even do that.
Yeah. So, not a fan of haunted houses, but I love horror movies, and so maybe that's it's like the safe option for me. Instead of going into a haunted house, I could just experience all that
Okay.
from outside of it. And
Get like an adrenaline release. Get a.
I think maybe that's part of it. A lot of times with horror, I'll watch with friends and stuff, and so
All right.
it's a little bit of there's a horror community out there, right? People who are into it connect with each other.
And I'm not in it.
You're not in it.
I'd rather ride a roller coaster or like,
Yeah. I mean, I do love roller coasters.
yeah, like to get that
Would
rush.
you rather go skydiving or watch a horror movie?
Oh, now you're really getting to the core
Yeah.
of here. I don't know. I don't like that question.
Would you rather? You have to pick one. We do this every week.
Yeah. Okay, then probably watch a horror movie if I
Okay.
can pick it.
If you can pick it.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. Pick like the worst horror movie.
Yeah, the lightest, least
Yeah.
scary. Or jump.
Monster House.
No, that I love. I don't consider that a horror. There we go. I'm good with that.
I'm trying to help you
That's
out
a
here.
great cartoon. I love that show.
Yeah.
As for me, right now I just finished a very short series on Netflix called Love on the Spectrum.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is so endearing and so sweet, and actually it was really helpful for me. My son, who is almost 17 years old, is on the autism spectrum. He was diagnosed when he was pretty young, I want to say 6 or 7. Back then they called it Asperger's syndrome, but they've sort of taken that away, and it's now just a spectrum, and that you can be more severely autistic, nonverbal, or you can be high functioning, very verbal, and just kind of struggle with some social interactions or certain sensory issues. Like, those are the ways that it showed up for Matthias. But now that he's becoming a young adult, I don't even know how to wrap my head or my heart around that. It's watching young people on the spectrum learn how to date. And so they're in pretty controlled environments, and these kids need that because surprises are not super helpful for anyone, but if you're on the spectrum, they're even more difficult. So they set up safe environments for these kids to come together. I say kids, most of them in their very early 20s. But socially, they are behind a little bit too. So watching them, they act more like 15, 16-year-olds. Very awkward, really forthright. Oftentimes there's not a filter and they say exactly what they're thinking. So there are some really funny moments where you would never say these things on a first date, but they don't have the filter, and so they just say it, you know? Or there's one girl who, when she gets nervous, she burps. And they show her on 3 different first dates, and she's just burping. And yet, the other side of this spectrum thing is that social norms like that just don't normally bother people on the spectrum nearly as much, and so they just laugh and like go with it. And so I've really enjoyed watching that, and the parents, I identify so much with them. So if you know somebody on the spectrum, if you're curious about what that looks like, it's a really great way to just sort of wade into that world. I think the season was cut short because of COVID, because they sort of forecast other characters, not characters, people, actual people, they're not actors, and then had to cut it short. So I'm really hoping they bring it back, but it's still totally worth watching. Love on the Spectrum on Netflix. And then most of my others that I binge watched during pandemic are the stereotypical, like, what's it called? Stranger Things. Justin loves that one too. That's one of his favorites. You like it too?
Yeah.
Zoe, my daughter, loves it. That's a family one, although it gets pretty intense.
Yeah, no, for
That's
sure.
That is pretty much the limit of my terror threshold.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty close to horror. Yeah, you get some moments in there.
The thing I trust about that show is that, and they're genius about this, is that just when things get really intense, you break into laughter and you never see it coming.
Yeah.
And they're so good at like honoring the genre, but then sort of pulling back and getting you to laugh at a bigger picture.
Yeah, the comic relief in that show is on point.
It is so good. And it takes place, so if it were in that actual year, those kids are exactly my age.
Oh, really?
I realized that in the second season. I was like, wait a minute, they're all in 6th grade. I was in 6th grade in 1996. Yeah, I just dated myself. I'm 46, there it is. But yeah, so like those would have been my peers. I like to imagine myself as like 11.
Go to play Dungeons and Dragons.
But I'll watch the show and I'm like, I had that lunchbox. I had that sleeping bag.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, I had their bike. Anyways, okay, and then there was one other show. Black Mirror. Have you watched
Oh my
Black Mirror?
goodness. Yeah, if you really want to terrify yourself. I feel
See?
like Black Mirror is on a whole other level than
But
horror.
it's more sci-fi, and I'm good with sci-fi.
Yeah, but it's like the sci-fi that's like based in reality.
Yeah.
Like it's almost too real.
So this is the Black Mirror. And every episode takes a look at the way technology is, first of all, changing us, and in some ways we don't realize. And then it's sort of futuristic, but also could take place in the very near future, some of
Right.
them, right?
Yeah.
Ways that we just didn't predict it really throwing off everything. The balance of power, of humanity, of the planet, like everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so each episode is self-contained. You could jump in at any time. And some of them are really funny. Some of them are pretty intense, and some of them are
Yeah.
just like really interesting. But
Yeah.
the acting, the writing, oh my
So
gosh.
good.
And some of them, I have to say, are not probably acceptable for kids under 16.
Yeah.
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 There's some sexual content or some violence that I would not recommend younger than that.
Right.
And then a lot of them I've let my own daughter Zoe watch, like the one with Miley Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
She loved it, and it's so good. I can't remember what it's called, but highly recommend it. Just Google Black Mirror Miley Cyrus. It's a great one.
Yeah.
And a great message for kids, I think, too.
Which one was that? The doll
Yes,
one? Okay,
yes. Her
yeah,
stepmom
Mhm.
wants to take over her career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Little teaser.
What's your favorite out of all of them? Is it Miley Cyrus episode?
Oh, man.
Favorite or like the one that got you thinking the most?
There was the one about dating, online dating,
Mhm.
and that like they could enter this other dimension on a dating app,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that was weird.
you don't know when you're watching it, but like there's sort of a contract that you will stay in that dimension until you find your perfect match.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just leave it at that. But it's very
Yeah.
interesting, that one. And then there was one set in like a Star Trek like.
That one is one of my top ones.
That guy's such a great actor.
Oh yeah.
The
Oh,
Captain Kirk character.
Mhm.
He's creepy and really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of TV talk.
Yes.
But when it's just two of us, this is how we fill the time.
That's right.
I do want to take just a moment, totally switching gears.
We got Jen Thomas
Yep.
and Heather Huber.
Hi, Jen and Heather. Do they have questions, comments?
Well, Jen says hey.
Hey, Jen.
Heather says watch the OA on Netflix.
OA is good.
Yeah, we.
OA.
Yeah,
we
you would
watched
like it. You'd
that
like it.
too.
What does the OA stand for?
The OA.
Original Angel.
Originally.
Original Angel.
It's,
It's not
uh,
scary.
No, yes, actually yes.
It is
It
little.
is
It's
in a way, depending on.
scary in like the Black Mirror.
Okay. Sci-fi, like psychological
Sci-fi.
thriller,
Yeah.
not.
I'm saying it's scary, but we didn't make it through the first Black Mirror, so.
Oh, well, the first one is pretty intense. Like that's sort of a
Well, we
filter.
weren't scared, we were grossed out.
Yeah.
That's the meaning.
Hey, Heath, pop your head in for just a minute so they can see that voice.
Yeah, there's a disembodied voice from behind the camera.
Just take your mask off for a second so they can see. This is our tech person, guru / sound genius friend, Heath Ramsey. And
Hi.
without him, none of this would be possible. So when you hear the voice behind the screen,
The man
It
behind
would be
the curtain.
possible. Someone would step up.
not me.
There's always someone.
Anywho.
We've been watching.
Yeah, what have you been watching?
We've been watching because of the pandemic. We needed help.
Don't we all?
Preach.
So we signed up for the Hallmark Channel,
Okay.
Movies Now. Turns out Monty loves the mystery part of that.
Monty, your
Okay?
6-year-old
Monty
son?
loves, yes, 5.
5? I thought you were 6,
Monty
sorry.
loves
I just checked.
mystery, which on the Hallmark Channel, mystery murder on the Hallmark Channel is pretty soft.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good,
Um,
measure for kids.
Yeah. And we're pretty soft in our TV viewing. But anyway, we have gotten like binge level on Sue Thomas, FBI,
All right.
I like what you did there.
And that's what it is. Anyway, it's about a deaf girl who works for the FBI because she can read lips.
Oh, cool. I've always been
yeah.
fascinated with that.
Yeah.
It'd be super handy.
And and it's from the early 2002-ish.
Sue
I guess.
Thomas, FB.
So it's fun for me because it's obviously was shot on film, which is you can tell
An
the
older
difference
art.
if you're
yeah.
a director of
Purist.
photography.
Mhm.
Kind of fun seeing the difference in modern photography on Netflix and then older things, and then no cell phones for the most part. People actually answering a phone on a wire.
What's that?
Yeah. Sue Thomas, FB.
Ding.
Yeah.
I feel like we should all do that when you do that.
And
Nice.
Glasses make it difficult, I'll be
yeah.
honest.
I see someone else. I'm gonna go
Yes,
get out of this
Deshay
chair.
just arrived. Take your time. I'm going to catch up on current events, and then please join us, Deshay.
Okay.
Yes, Deshay is here. Woohoo! This week, we are continuing our series of voices. Oh gosh, now I forgot what it's called. Do you remember? Anyone? Anyone?
I should know this.
I
We went through a
shall-
million names and they're all running
that's
through my
why,
head right
because
now.
we kept changing the name. Anyways,
For everyone?
what
A
kind?
table for all.
A table for all.
Prophetic voices.
Prophetic voices. There it is. Thank you, Heath. So last week we heard from KJ Kim, a beautiful person, friend of mine who is the pastor at Stephenville, just 30 miles down the road, First Christian Church, and he shared his story of immigrating to the United States from Korea and attending seminary at TCU, where Deshay and Austin currently are enrolled, and where Justin and I both attended. Justin's dad was on faculty, so yeah, some real connections there. So KJ graduated and is serving full time there, and tomorrow his wife is being induced with their third baby, a little girl. But the interview and his story really touched me. It's available at fccgranbury.org, and you know how to find it because you're here now. So just look at last week's story, and you can listen to his sermon, and then he and I have a conversation afterward about race and immigration that is so central to just sort of where our country is and where people of faith are, and putting a face to that. And I think he does a beautiful job of sharing his heart, and he really, really touched me with his vulnerability and just his willingness to share that story. Tonight, we're still waiting. It's going to be one of two people, depending on who we hear from. We already have one sermon from Brandon Wright. Brandon is another friend of mine who is pastor at Cleburne, up the road the other way, 25 minutes. And he is a black man serving an all-white congregation. He was installed the week everything shut down because of COVID. And so he has been in remote relationship for the entirety of his ministry with them. And the challenges and struggles that we all face with that, on top of the race dynamic that is unavoidable and is definitely a part of his story. So we will either hear from Brandon tonight, or my friend Rosola Law, who is at Eastside Christian Church in Dallas. East, is that it? North.
Northway.
Dang it.
Yeah.
It's a direction. It's one of the four. I had a 25% chance and I blew it. Northway. Sorry, Rosola. Sorry, Northway. My bad. I am directionally impaired. I don't know how that's relevant. But
Seems like a pretty good excuse.
I was here a year before I knew that was south. I was convinced because of the
This
river.
I'm super confused in this building
Yeah.
all the time.
But now it's how I orient myself throughout town. I just stand and face the church and I'm like, okay, that's south. I finally figured it out.
It works.
Anywho, Rosola, who's a dear friend of mine, also, she didn't graduate from Bright, but she attended at Bright and then I think graduated from Phillips, and has been at Northway for a little over a year now. Is that right?
About 2 years.
Okay, is
Almost
that
two-
right?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, yeah, time flies. That's right, because I've been here for 2 years, so yeah, okay. Rosola is a black woman who is is serving a mostly white congregation, although in her tenure has it become more diverse. And her prophetic voice is a very powerful one. She's a lot of fun and a beautiful heart. So tonight at 6 p.m., every Wednesday in September, we are hearing from people of color. If you haven't noticed, KJ is Korean. Prophetic voices, their stories, and then on the final week, our very own Deshae Jackson will be with us, but it will be on a Tuesday. The last Tuesday in September is the 29th.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
A preview of things to come. Deshae, will you come join us? Deshae will be with us then to share their story of experience, strength, and hope, and then be available for questions afterwards. So that's a teaser. Watch the rock and roll.
It happens.
Well, right.
And I'm out of phrase.
Like, well, it's almost fall anyway. Might as well live into it.
At least you're not on that side where you can roll off the stage.
Yeah, no.
How are you?
What do you mean by that?
Oh gosh. I mean, we could go any number of directions.
I'm fully aware.
How's your heart?
That's dangerous to ask. It's, ooh.
I asked.
So yeah, you did ask. It's, what's the word? It's just very confused.
Yeah?
A lot of confusion and emotion and kind of like the modulation of the two in different forms. And because modulation itself doesn't mean anything making it better or worse, it just shifts in different ways.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
Uh-huh. And I was like, So my heart is just kind of all over the place.
Yep.
So, but it's at least it's a rainy day, and that makes me happy.
Does it?
Yes. Except getting stuck at the Crescent train.
Yeah, we talked about that before you got here,
so
and the drama that is the train. Yeah.
And then the gas pump decided to just go offline. So Murphy's Law has just been happening to me this morning, but that's okay. I'm still here. And
You
I'm
live
alive.
to tell about it. I'm so glad.
I'm so glad.
Okay, softball question. What is your pandemic Netflix binge show that you would recommend?
Don't you want to put a parentheses after the W and put S and in parentheses? Because I have not one show, but shows.
Okay, but if you had to pick one.
One that is binge worthy.
Yeah, it's a big commitment.
Really is. Oh, this is really hard. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I thought it was softball. I know. But I love these shows. How do I choose just one? They're like my children.
I was just like, there's so many that I get invested into, and I'm trying to think, what did I get invested in that just lasted for forever? You know what? I think quarantine-wise, Airbender.
Ooh.
Okay.
That
Alright,
was,
you get a second there.
that was popular during our kind of middle school teenage years.
Yeah.
Y'all are about the same
A
age.
little bit.
Pretty close.
I just learned that apparently I'm not the youngest. That I'm older than Austin.
Oh,
Not by much, so it's like 2 months.
yeah, okay.
But it was like, but I never got to watch the show as a kid because it just didn't appeal. And then all of a sudden now I'm just like, I know. How do you do these things?
So is that a kid-friendly show? Is that something you would recommend for only a certain age group?
I'd at least say probably 10 to 12 is my age and up.
Okay.
That's
All
right.
right.
Yeah.
All right. I like how you mid-breath change directions.
It's like,
Wait.
wet.
All right. One of our church members brought up a question that I kind of wanted to consider today. She said, I really loved your first show. Actually, we've had this our third now, so your first couple of shows. And she said, I love that it feels accessible, down to earth, like we're getting to know you as people. That's really great. And she said, I wonder why you do it in the sanctuary. And so Austin and I, pre-show, were talking about sacred space and what that means to people, the power of that space, the limitations, and thinking differently about space now that so few people can be in a space together safely, and why it is that we're doing it here. Thoughts?
thoughts on sacred space in general. I was just having a conversation actually with Matthias, and we were talking about hymns and the idea that hymns for me are something that are sacred and special. Not because I love every single one of them, not because I agree with the theology in every single one of them,
Amen.
but because I grew up with them, singing them at loved ones' funerals, singing them, growing up and being raised in a church, learning to lead a congregation in song, going and singing in the car on the way home, or sitting in the living room and singing these hymns. And I think in the same kind of way that hymns for me are sacred, spaces like this sanctuary, or spaces like a space that I feel is sacred to me, is the place where I grew up camping, and it's on my arm right here. And that space is sacred simply because it holds a place in my life that changed me fundamentally. And I think this space has changed people fundamentally. Whether that was a good change, a hurtful change, a beautiful change, spaces change people. I think that makes them sacred in a lot of ways.
How about you, Deshay?
I had two thoughts. One of them is absolutely superficial, and that's just accessibility. Like, we already have the setup done. So why, it's like, why have to take the time to move everything into a different space, so I just always think about Heath, because I don't understand everything that he does, and therefore if I don't understand it, I have more of a I don't know how much work goes into that, so I don't want to overwork you, or overburden. The other one is subversion, and thinking about this space, this chancel, and how I grew up seeing a chancel, or really seeing, we really didn't have a chancel, it was a pulpit. But that for me, of course, is sacred space. That's where, at 15, I was allowed to preach a whole 2-minute sermon because I forgot my first one up the street. But that was a space of both holiness and fear and love. And then what it's kind of shifted into now is that the holiness and the sacredness is shifting in the way that it's presented. No longer is it a sermon, but now it's discussion. A space now is also considered like our sacred desk, or our sacred, even a sacred cow. It's like something you don't move. Same goes for the chancel. For some people, there is a certain level that only certain activities can happen on the chancel. And for me, getting to do stuff like this, where it is discussion, where you're actually getting to know us, one, strips away kind of the performative stage of a chancel, and two, it also helps us to, I think, open our mind to what this space is. Not only is this a space where we do prophetic proclamations, but we also have daily dialogue, we also have sacred, I was trying to go by essence, but nonetheless, good dialogue. And it's dialogue that's also not, what's the word I'm looking for? Words are hard today. It's a space where we allow us to come as we are. And that means flaws and mess ups, and we break down these things. And that's what the space becomes.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm aware of how much we put on certain spaces. Immediately when I think of sacred space, there are a number of sanctuaries that come to mind, really beautiful spaces, some very elaborate and some very simple. Little chapel in the mountain where I grew up at camp. But the most sacred space in my life was my grandmother's home. It was my foundation. It was my sanctuary, where I always felt welcomed, fed, safe, loved, always. And as I became an adult, and my grandfather died, and my grandmother became too old to really take care of a larger home, with 3 stories and a lot of yard and all the things that younger people love in a home, she really didn't anymore. And I knew that the time was coming that she was going to leave that home and sell it. First of all, I was like, well, I'll buy it. I was 23 and did not have the money. But then, this sense of future grief. I was already grieving something that had not happened. And it was something that really, it was very painful for me, but I chose to go back to Colorado and to help my family move her out of that home and do the estate sale. And for me, it was grief work. All the memories, all of the experiences in every single room of that home, the smells, both the tears, the joy, the arguments, the divorces, the alcoholism, plenty of it, all of it in that home, but that it could still be my sanctuary. And then watching strangers come in and put a price on everything in there and walk away with it was both devastating and so incredibly life-giving for me. Because I realized they could not take away what was most sacred about it. And although I have not set foot in that home now in many, many years, it's still there for me. And it's still every bit as holy and good. And sometimes at night when I can't sleep, I'll go on a walk through that house. And it's sort of a way to lull myself into a place of safety and love. My grandma's been dead. It was 10 years ago this week. And so the house has been out of our lives longer than that. But I liken sacred spaces to that. And so I want everyone to hear that we by no means want to disrespect this space, but maybe to recognize all of the power that is represented, wrapped up in any space like this, and to maybe subvert it a little bit, this notion that in stepping away and sort of considering that the hidden may also be true, that which we do not always see or recognize may also be true. I think that's how I think about it. And so bringing our whole selves to God. This is not a place where we check our brain at the door. It is not a place where we have to hide who we truly are in God. We don't have to edit ourselves. Now, it doesn't mean that we say hurtful things on purpose, or that we don't think before we speak, or do anything. But to truly be a safe place, which is the root of sanctuary, I think we have to consider those things, and making it welcoming for people who maybe have been hurt, as you said, or have felt like they can't be all of who they are here. What does that mean? And it's an ongoing conversation. So there's that. Really long answer, but also lighting, sound, and the air in here, the circulation is probably the best of anywhere in the building. There are 4 separate units that can move the air, which now they're saying is the very best way to keep people safe in COVID. And that the virus operates more like a cloud of smoke than something that lands and just sits somewhere. So that's the long answer. Hey, Mr. Pyatt, we have a special guest. He peeked in. This is going to teach y'all. If you poke your head in, while we're filming, don't walk away. Just come say hi.
Wow.
Come say hi. Don't be rude. I'm calling you out.
Ha.
Come on.
Hi, friend.
So anyway, if you have thoughts on sanctuary, I'd love to hear them. It's interesting to think about architecture. Come on in. Come on in. Just come say hi. We did it with Kenny last week. We did it with Heath.
Kenny didn't even get to know that he was on live stream until he was
he just
right
walked
here.
in with his back to the camera.
But he got a whole song out of it. So
He did. Oh,
I was like, Christian, do you want me to make? I can give you a song right now just for you.
You're having Starbucks?
Ooh.
One of those things I can go pick up and bring it here because I'm late.
That's fair.
So disappointed.
Christian has a coffee shop / drinkery here in town. This is my husband. Say hi, Christian Pyatt.
Hi, Christian Pyatt.
Call me.
2 questions. One, just a short answer. What is your favorite Netflix binge show?
Ozark.
Ozark.
Good
Okay,
one.
see, I didn't even say that one. It's another good one,
That's fast.
but pretty intense. Not for younger viewers. certainly not under 16.
Just like me.
Yeah. And what is your favorite sacred space?
Sacred space. Sacred space. Heart space?
Heart space.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
In there.
Oh, that with your sternum?
Yeah. Your center. Your
I
chi.
don't think
your
I
heart
have
space.
ever
Ah.
heard you use that word, and I am like bursting at the seams with joy right now that you have adopted that word.
All right, I'm going.
I want that kind of marriage.
It's
Oh,
so
Carrie
feelsy.
says hello, Mr. Pike.
And goodbye.
I want that type of marriage.
So heart space is a word I use a lot in my daily prayers to refer to that holy space where God resides, and that when we live out of that space, we can be more generous and accepting and loving. But it takes practice and prayer there. And that he used that word just makes me happy.
Do you think our heart spaces reflect the places that we find sacred?
Oh, great question.
I think,
Mm.
I don't know. I want to say yeah, because all of the spaces that I've grown up in feel like they're still here with me. The way that you were talking about your grandmother's house
Yep.
feels very much like it's still there with you.
Yeah.
You go to sleep at night by walking through the house. You said that and I had to like, wait a minute, you don't own the house anymore, right? Like you can't actually walk through it, but you're walking through it. And so is it your heart space
Yes.
where that is?
Absolutely.
Mm.
That's a great question. And perhaps when we feel like a place that we consider sacred is being defiled or disrespected or misused, it hurts here.
Mm. Yeah.
I love that now I have a different word for that, for heart space, but so camp is a big part of me and my identity since 2014. And one of the camps I worked at in southern Missouri, we had what was called a memory suitcase. And so kind of like storing those whole memories inside that you can go through, the memory suitcase was to be used when you're not at camp. Maybe sometimes during the winter when it's absolutely cold and you think about the hottest day at camp, or when you're just really sad and missing your friends, you just open up that memory suitcase and you think about some of the crafts or some of the musicals you did or some of the trips, backpacking trips. But I love the comfort of that. And it truly does when our spaces get nudged or hit, like we instantly take on that. It's almost like a surrogacy. Like we have also become, our essence is in these spaces as well. And so when our essence is then attacked, I'm like, what do? We automatically, it's a reflex. That's pain.
Defense.
That's different, yeah.
Yes, and we look at, I started to talk about this when we were so rudely interrupted by my husband. The ways that architecturally, I know, I can give him a hard time. It's all in love.
Love it.
We have sought to, I think in the name of protection and reverence, but it's also served to keep people out, put in like the kneeling rails, or in many cathedrals there's like a holiest of holies behind everything that people in the sanctuary can see, and only like clergy can go in them. And many religious traditions have spaces like that. But then, you know, we talk about subverting that, and I think Jesus was about that. In fact, Scripture says that on the day he died, the temple curtain was torn in two. And that can represent many things, but the holiest of holies was set free upon the world. In that moment, the centurion says, truly this man is the Son of God. And there's an earthquake. I mean, this is earth-shattering, right? And no longer can the holy be contained in any space. God's love is revealed. I don't know, something to think about. But one of the conversations that many churches are having right now is how to bring people back to these spaces safely, what that looks like. And one of the interesting things is, much like heart space, what feels safe for some may not for others. And Deshay, yesterday in our staff meeting, and I brought this up at our board meeting last night, we kind of rubbed up against one of those places that I just became aware of. A friend of mine who's a teacher has been really struggling with returning to school, just like so many families are right now. And she said, I don't want to be angry with anyone about this, but people just don't know what they're asking when they send their children back and expect us to have this all figured out. And I think so many places are dealing with this. But Deshay yesterday brought up that in our attempts to have outdoor worship starting not this Sunday but the following, and just to bring everybody together, it's a great idea. Like we think that this could be a lot of fun, a neat opportunity here in the fall in Texas where we have about a 6-week window when it's not too hot and it's not too cold, and we can be together outside pretty safely. And so then we're like, yeah, we can get the choir back together, not realizing what that might be putting on you. So I don't know, share whatever you're comfortable with, but just how that experience has unfolded for you.
It has been, and I'll be transparent.
Please.
That's how I will be within this space of ministry. So do not worry about that, anybody that's listening. I have, like I told you, that my heart is feeling a lot of different mixed emotions. And so, mixed emotion-wise, I've been thinking about a lot of the factors that play into my concern and also even my own personal feelings.
Yeah.
And to think about the factors that contribute. So, excuse me. I don't know if you all know this, I have asthma. And I've been doing this since March. So the one thing about it is the thing of innovation. We are constantly in a state of innovation to survive. And so when you come into a new space and all you're doing is creating, the drive starts to burn a little bit when you're a full-time student. The other side of it is also looking at the delicate nature of how life is. And my fear is getting anyone sick. I am more, if anything, a carrier than I would get it. But if I were to get it, I've been in the hospital before because of the flu. I had H1N1 back in 2009 and had to get at least like 6 attempts to get a shot. To which case also the nurse made fun of me for having small veins.
Like you can control that.
Once again, like I marched with like a 20, 25 pound saxophone during marching season, so I don't know what on earth she's thinking. But nonetheless, that's scary. And so to think about the weight of our congregants, one life is more than enough to be concerned about. And so knowing the demographic of our choir, knowing some of my own challenges, I've been a little hesitant.
Yep.
And I've been hesitant not as a spirit of fear, but as a spirit of discernment, honestly. Because this isn't easy. This isn't an easy move. It's not one that we're just going to do. And then I also took on the side of our congregants and understanding, I've been through performance depression. When you go from performing in 7 to 8 ensembles weekly for 4 years straight, and then you leave. Like, even when I left school for a year, I got an opera contract, and I was singing with a choir still. Like, I still have that. Moved me to grad school, like, I sang a little bit, but I didn't have a musical outlet. And that hurts. We know that isolation works with the different paths in your brain and actually rewires your brain.
Yeah.
So isolation, this pain of performance depression, because let's face it, there's a lot of things that we get from good choral singing. And actually, just strike the good out of it. Just from choral community choral singing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, sure, yeah, I get a rush when I hear a pure ooh vowel come through, and it's just like ethereal. I'm like, oh my gosh, voices do that.
I don't know what that is, but that's okay.
It sounds nice.
It sounds beautiful. I bet it's great.
It's like, but those are some things that I've thought about for our congregants. And so, you know, it's been saying, what am I okay with pushing past of my uncomfortableness that's also not going to sacrifice anything for these people that are coming here.
Yeah.
So that's been really big. And it's not to say that I've been like, nope, I don't want the choir singing. I don't want nobody singing. I don't want to do, no, it's absolutely not that. I want you all singing. I miss it. Remember that I have a whole other degree to do after this one that's going to be more musically involved. So, yeah, just know that I love you all lots. And we're working through this. And we will get together and we will be sing. We will find a way to sing together, both in person and hopefully find something also for our members that are online that it is not safe for them to do such. May it be so.
Can you imagine the party we will have when this is truly over? When we can hug each other and sing out loud for as long as we want? Oh my gosh. I think I'll dance for 3 days straight.
I don't know that I'll do that,
I hope you stretch,
but I'll be excited.
I'm just gonna come in.
I'll sing for 3 days straight.
Okay.
Not much of a dancer.
You are a good singer. You can harmonize. I know it.
Guys.
Because I stand
I like
next
to
to you in
harmonize.
church. Back when we would stand and
Sing next to each other.
Yeah.
Why are you okay with being okay with harmonizing, but not a compliment of you're a good singer?
I don't know.
That's an interesting
I was like,
observation.
I don't know.
I was like,
You are
friend,
a
that's a
good
talent.
singer. You are a good singer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've got to affirm you.
Well, and I think recognizing also that it's strange to on one side say, it's not safe for us to be here together doing these things, and then for you to sit over there and watch us
Right here. Yeah.
doing the thing in the very space where you wish you could be. And I just want to say that I think we are all aware of that, and that it's both a privilege and a responsibility
Yeah.
that we share, and that we try and do it as safely as possible. We're kind of in each other's bubble. I don't know about y'all, but no, actually I do, because we've talked about this extensively. We really try to limit our exposure in other ways. I mean, I went to my first restaurant outside on a patio last Monday for Labor Day with my family in 6 months. And it felt like the fanciest thing. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing, and we go to Walmart and pick up our groceries. We don't go inside, all these things.
Mhm.
But how have you experienced that sort of place of friction between sacred space and safety, and how to walk this faithfully?
Yeah, it's been difficult for sure. I think the thing that's at the forefront of my mind through all of this has been, how do I thinking for myself, I'm like, I get COVID and like most likely I will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I get COVID and most likely a lot of people around me could not be fine. And that scares me, and it makes me think twice, think 3 times, think 10 million times before making a decision to get people together in any kind of way. And that's difficult because I want everybody to experience sacred space again, to be able to be here and to, I think sacred space can also be sacred people, the people in your life that you experience as sacred to you, that that are holy, that hold you accountable, and that are the people that you just need to be around. And as ministers, I think we facilitate that a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been difficult this season to do that, to facilitate it, because on one hand you have people need people, and on the other hand you have, right now people can't be around people. And it's been a difficult question in terms of that, but also in terms of setting my own boundaries and saying, I've got family at home that I have to protect.
Yes.
And that's been difficult too. So it's just all a bunch of jumbled up mess in my mind, and I can say that I think that we've all been faithful in trying to figure it out and be responsible for each other, with each other, and in love, in all things, in love.
Yes. Yes, keeping that at the center.
Yeah.
Trusting each other. And I think that's where I feel so fortunate to be part of a church where I really do trust my coworkers, the leaders in this church, and the people in this congregation to to trust me and to trust each other, like we hold this together, that even if we don't always quite understand where another is coming from, we hold love at the center. And I mean, in our value statement, it says, we don't always have to get our way. And this is one of the only churches I have ever been in where that, I can say, is embodied, it is lived out, it is true. I feel safe in this church because I have seen people handle not getting their way in a very loving and very grown-up way. So they don't take their bat and their ball and go home. They don't start sort of side campaigns to, bring the issue back up again. They don't use their standing in the congregation. I've been here 25 years or whatever the case may be. I give a lot to this church. The things that get thrown out, those power plays. I have never witnessed a power play in this church. This is a really healthy place. And we're not perfect. Nope, not by any means. I mean, look at us. Ta-da! But
I have lint on me.
that's right. But that's sort of the way that we build trust, and we give, I don't want to say permission, but we invite others to feel safe enough to feel safe here too. And I think it's something rare and beautiful and more sacred than any place.
Yeah.
Is that beautiful relationship. So I'm really honored to be here. And I guess having been through churches where that is certainly not the case, and seeing how deeply people can hurt each other and sort of maybe even unknowingly wound each other with those lines and those power plays and those fears. It's just amazing. This is nothing short of a miracle. And I don't take it for granted.
I don't think I ever thought of membership years as currency for status. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense because seniority is a real easy play.
Yeah.
Yeah, or how many generations back your family goes, or how many things in the church are named after your family. There's any number of ways.
It's like a whole pew.
Right?
A whole pew,
Yeah.
that's all we have.
Yeah. No, that's not what happens here. So, I know that this whole time is changing us, and that we're not through it yet, there are some promising, hopeful things on the horizon, vaccines and new information that continue to, I think, be very hopeful. But we don't have a date. We don't have I wish we did, a finish line.
Right.
And it's funny because
Make
people
things
ask, I don't know about y'all, but how often do you get asked, when do you think we'll be back tomorrow? When? As if, if I really knew, wow.
At the same time though, having, putting out a number or putting out a date, then we all turn into children on a long car ride. Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? They're like, is it almost ready? Can we get a couple days earlier?
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah. But then we'd have to be like the doomsday cult or Nostradamus that oh wait, I didn't mean that. It was the sun was not in the right place. I had something weird for breakfast. I don't know. The way that people will backpedal or try and excuse the people who try to tell the future. I don't know.
Yep.
Anything else? I think we just successfully killed an hour of your time.
Woo! I love our podcasts. They're great for drives.
Yeah. Any other questions, Heath?
I have a few comments.
Okay.
I don't think there's any questions on YouTube. Letitia Winquist says, hello all. Thank you for helping me lighten up on all my seriousness I have of life.
Oh.
I think we've done a good thing there.
Yay.
Oh, we can definitely do that.
Okay. I'm about it.
Okay, my phone comes back to life. Then, Sydney Sanders says,
Sydney!
Yay! How's our freshman do?
Carrie says, oh, the many faces of Deshay.
Doggone it.
That could be like a storybook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, we may talk about that. Carrie also says, we loved In the Dark. It's about a blind lady who navigates life while trying to help assist the police solve the murder of her friend. So that
I've
sounds like
heard
a-
that too.
I've heard
That's interesting. 2 stories about women who have like disabilities who end up using them as strength.
Yeah.
Oh, subversion.
Ooh.
Ooh,
I like it.
that's
Okay. All right.
So on that note, disabilities that end up as strengths. We talked about COVID. We talked a lot about like the ways that it's been difficult, and we talked about sacred spaces and holy things. And you've listened to the song before, "Holy Now,"
Oh,
right?
it's so good. We'll put up a link.
Yeah, we'll put up a link. That'll be great. How can we understand COVID this time, these last 6 months, as something holy or sacred? Can we? Should we?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm like, I hate to be like aggressively on that, but I hold it as much tension as I do the sacred book that we call our Bible. As much as it is filled with love, caring, and to be good to one another, not the other, but another, Dr. Tomi Orden, we also have pestilence, plagues, death, and decapitation. All of those things exist within that sacred canon that we preach from or we study from. And in the same manner in this pandemic, it is all of those things. I will say ultimately, like a pandemic is bad. Like nobody wants a pandemic. But what it's done, for some it's given more time to actually jump into entrepreneurship. My cousin is now thriving with her counseling. Like she can do all of that and that's great. The other side of it, it's shown the economic disparities that we have, and I say the dangers of food deserts because, for one, you can't have proper nutrition. You're now seeing how it's affecting people, and now that they can't get out or they can't do something else, you have different rates of, I don't know, health concerns.
Yeah.
So, like, it's done some good and it's done some bad.
Yeah. I think personally, I have appreciated nature more in the last 6 months in a number of ways. I've just been out in it more, forcing my kids to take walks and bike rides, but also, and it is a force. Whatever.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah. And sometimes it's forcing myself too. Get up off the couch and go. Especially when we were in like hardcore lockdown.
Yeah.
Like you could just stay in your pajamas, the same pajamas,
Binge those Netflix
Maybe.
for 3 days. I don't know who does that. Yeah, change your socks. But also the way that nature seems to be repairing herself, getting a nice long breath. But then you have all of these fires in California and Colorado. And the extreme temperature changes. Yesterday, my dad, in the middle of the board meeting, sent me a video because it was snowing in Denver. He lives in Denver. And the day before, it was almost 100 degrees. So that is rare. And it is sort of what we've talked about seeing as our planet warms up. So an appreciation for creation and the simple beauty. A few weeks ago, when we were worshiping outside, you had us pause and look at all the dragonflies. And I just saw this field come alive right before my eyes, paying attention to small things and just trying to be grateful. But also the suffering of the marginalized, and usually throughout history, when things like this happen, it's the poor and those without access that suffer first and suffer hardest. And not forgetting that it's a privilege to be able to have my groceries brought to my car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's even an option. Yeah. Well, have we said enough? Is there anything else? We can always talk more. We're preachers.
I was like, I might borrow from the UCC because God's still speaking. So
Hey.
eventually, but we can put a pause for a moment.
I mean, we didn't get to half my list. I have like so many, but
Oh my.
we can save that for next week.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love saying that.
Thanks for tuning in.
Eventually, you know,
Join us next time.
I'm gonna write a theme song for this.
Click
We're
and
gonna have
subscribe.
one.
Is there anything else going on in the week?
In
that
this
we
week.
should- So tomorrow, I'm doing communion in the sanctuary. The sign-up list was sent out in the newsletter. There's a sign-up genius. If you want to sign up for that, it's from 11 to 1, and you
Thursday.
can sign up for a 10-minute slot tomorrow afternoon.
Nice.
Just a reminder about handbells on Sunday. If you have not signed up for it, please email me. I need to get exact numbers so that way I can have a good setup. Our first rehearsal is a workshop, so please come learn something because I'm learning something.
That's exciting. Learn together. Tomorrow at 3, I am starting a book group. We are reading The Road Back to You by Ian Cron and Susan Stabile, who are experts in the Enneagram. If you're not familiar, it's a personality type indicator, to say the least. A very old, very ancient study of human motivation from a Christian mystic tradition, and how we can understand, first of all, ourselves and what motivates us, our egos, and then better understand each other. It's a great tool. So The Road Back to You is a book available on Amazon or other fine distributors, and it comes with a study guide. And it's not too late. You can get yours and join in, even if you have to catch up next week. But we will be both virtual and here in the building 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Are you going to go through all of them in order? Or in an order, or?
That's a great question. Well, in the order of the book, and I'm trying to remember now, it's been so long since I've read it, I got to go back and do a little studying, reading tonight. If it goes through it 1 through 9, or if it does it.
Does like 8,
Heart
9,
and
1,
gut,
or like?
I can't remember.
It's like, are we doing like heart the
I
female?
don't think it does it in order. I don't think it does it 1 through 9. I think it goes in a different order. So we'll see.
I hope you don't start on 2. I was like, I kind of enjoy.
Thanks, y'all. And if you have recommendations for what we should call this thing, great.
sending them.
Word has it there might be a prize for the winner. We probably need to set a time for when we're gonna actually.
Right, we should figure
Maybe
that
by the
out.
end of the month or something.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
End
Yeah.
of the month.
Yeah.
All right.
Send your suggestions in the
Questions.
comments, or
Yes.
send them to office@fccgranbury.org.
Yep.
Yep.
In the meantime, be well. Open your heart space. Be generous. Be loving. Be kind in the world, and know that you are loved. See you later.
Hi, friends.
Bye! Now we sit here awkwardly
Now we can dangle
while
our
it's still
feet
live.
and wait.
Oh, my feet have been dangling. So, I love this podcast. This is fun. Are we on anything that can be like a downloaded? How are we doing this? Is this all on the
This
website?
is all Facebook Live, YouTube Live.
You can share it on your
Share
Facebook
it.
page or a YouTube link.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Ursula what Northlead is, because I'm like, I would love to see us on like a place where you can download podcasts.
Podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that we used to use